The room was dark except for the dim glow of the bedside lamp, casting golden light onto the tangled sheets. My skin was flushed, damp with sweat, my breath still unsteady. Ethan's body pressed against mine, his lips trailing slow, open-mouthed kisses down my neck. His fingers traced a lazy pattern on my bare thigh, sending a shiver up my spine. I arched my back slightly, giving him more access, letting my nails rake gently across his shoulders. He growled low in his throat, the sound vibrating against my skin. "You drive me insane," he murmured, voice thick with desire. I tilted my head back, a smirk playing on my lips. "Then show me." And he did. Ethan moved with a desperation that made my pulse spike, his hands gripping my hips, pulling me closer as his mouth found mine again. The kiss was hot, urgent, teeth and tongue clashing as we devoured each other. His fingers dug into my skin, rough, demanding, and I relished it. I gasped as he flipped me onto my back, hovering above me, his eyes dark with hunger. "You're so fucking beautiful," he muttered, his lips brushing against my jawline before moving lower. "So perfect." His words sent a thrill through me, but it wasn't love that I felt. It was power. I had him completely. His lips burned a path down my body, his breath hot against my skin. I writhed beneath him, fingers gripping the sheets as he pushed me to the edge, dragging me into oblivion. My back arched, pleasure spiraling through me as his name fell from my lips in a broken gasp. And then, seconds later, he followed, his body shuddering against mine as he groaned into my neck. For a long moment, we lay tangled together, our bodies slick with sweat, our breathing heavy. Then reality seeped back in. Ethan exhaled deeply, rolling onto his back, his arm draped over his forehead. His chest still rose and fell with the remnants of his release, but I could already see the shift in his expression. Guilt. It always came afterward. "We shouldn't keep doing this," he muttered, his voice hoarse. I turned my head to look at him, a knowing smile tugging at my lips. "You always say that. And we always do." He sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. "I love my wife, Anna." A cold laugh escaped me. "Yeah? You have a funny way of showing it." Silence. Ethan never had an answer to that. I sat up, stretching my arms over my head, letting the sheets pool around my waist. His eyes flickered over my body for a brief moment before he looked away, jaw clenched. "Don't start feeling guilty now," I teased, reaching for my phone on the nightstand. "It's a little too late for that." I unlocked the screen, glancing at the time. Almost midnight. And then, a message. Unknown number. No text, just a video attachment. A strange sensation curled in my stomach, something uneasy, something cold. I hesitated for a second before tapping on it, and the screen filled with images that sent a chill down my spine. It was us, right here in this bed. Every kiss, every touch, every sinful movement, captured in perfect clarity. My breath caught in my throat, fingers tightening around the phone. "What is it?" Ethan asked, sitting up beside me. Wordlessly, I turned the screen toward him. His face went white. "Fuck," he breathed, running a shaky hand through his hair. "Where the hell did this come from?" Another message. This time with text. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" My blood ran cold. I knew that number. It was Emily, Ethan's wife, my best friend. Ethan shot up from the bed as if he had been burned, his face drained of all color. His eyes darted between me and the phone screen, his chest rising and falling in quick, uneven breaths. "No," he muttered, shaking his head. This has to be a mistake." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My heart was hammering against my ribs, my fingers gripping the sheets so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Another message. "Did you have fun, baby?" It felt like ice-cold water had been poured over me. My stomach twisted violently, nausea bubbling in my throat. Ethan snatched the phone from my hands, his fingers trembling as he read the words over and over, as if hoping they would somehow change. His jaw clenched, a curse slipping from his lips. "How the fuck did she get this?" he hissed. Did you tell her?" My head snapped up. "Are you out of your damn mind?" I shot back, my voice sharp. "Why the hell would I do that?" His nostrils flared, and for a second I thought he was going to argue. But then the phone buzzed again. Another message. "Check your email." I didn't need to. I knew what would be there. Ethan bolted toward his clothes, pulling on his pants with frantic hands. "We have to delete it," he muttered, yanking his shirt over his head. "Maybe we can." I let out a hollow laugh. "You really think deleting it will fix this?" He froze, staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. "She sent it to you, Ethan," I said slowly. My voice eerily calm despite the storm raging inside me. "She wanted you to know that she knows." He didn't respond. His hands clenched into fists at his sides, his jaw tightening. I reached for my own phone, ignoring the sickening tremble in my fingers as I pulled up my email. Sure enough, there it was. A single video file, the same one from before, sent from Emily's account. And beneath it, a message. "Meet me tomorrow. 8 p.m. You know where." My pulse skipped. I did know where. It was our spot. Mine and Emily's. The little bar on the east side of town, where we used to drink wine and gossip about life. Where we used to laugh over stories about our husbands. Where I used to be her best friend. Ethan was pacing now, running a hand through his hair in a frenzy. Shit. 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 I sat back against the headboard staring at my phone, at the words that felt like a noose tightening around my neck. "She's not yelling," I murmured. "Not threatening. Not asking for an explanation." Ethan stopped pacing. "What?" I lifted my eyes to his, a strange chill running through me. If she wanted to destroy us, she would have sent that video to everyone already. "Your boss. Your family. My family." His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. "Then what the fuck does she want?" I didn't have an answer, but something told me that whatever it wasn't going to be good. The next 24 hours passed in a haze of anxiety. Ethan tried calling Emily more times than I could count, but she never answered. He even drove home in the morning, only to find the house empty. No sign of his wife. No note. Nothing. I spent the day pacing my apartment, trying to convince myself that I still had control. That maybe, just maybe, Emily wasn't planning to destroy me. But deep down I knew better. By the time the clock struck 8, I was already sitting in the bar, my fingers wrapped around a half-empty glass of wine. The place was quieter than usual, the low hum of conversation blending with soft jazz playing through the speakers. And then she walked in. Emily. She looked the same. Beautiful, composed. Her dark red dress hugging her figure perfectly, her heels clicking softly against the wooden floor as she made her way toward me. For a moment, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't what I thought it was. Then she sat down. And smiled. A slow, knowing smile that sent ice through my veins. "Hi, Anna," she said. Her voice smooth as silk. I swallowed hard. "Emily." She raised a hand, cutting me off. "Drink," she offered, tilting her head slightly. I stared at her, my mouth dry. She was toying with me. Slowly, she reached into her purse and pulled out her phone, placing it on the table between us. She tapped the screen once and the video started playing. I stiffened. It was quieter in the bar now, but the sight of my naked body tangled with Ethan's was enough to make my blood turn to ice. I snatched the phone, lowering the volume in panic, my eyes darting around to make sure no one had seen. Emily let out a soft chuckle, swirling her wine in her glass. "You look good on camera," she mused. I have to say I was impressed. My hands trembled. "Emily, please." She leaned in, her gaze locking onto mine. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" My breath hitched. She knew. She had known. For how long? I opened my mouth but no words came out. She smirked. "You always were predictable, Anna. You thought you were in control. That you had Ethan wrapped around your little finger." She tilted her head. "But tell me, how does it feel to realize you were the one being played all along?" My stomach twisted. "What are you talking about?" Emily leaned back in her seat, crossing her legs. "You see, my dear best friend," she said lightly, "this wasn't just about Ethan. This was about you. About making you pay." I froze. "What?" Her smile widened. "You really don't remember, do you?" she murmured, her fingers tracing the rim of her glass. "All those years ago, the boy I loved. The boy you took from me." And just like that, I couldn't breathe. My fingers tightened around the stem of my wine glass as the weight of her words settled over me. "The boy I loved. The boy you took from me." My mind scrambled. flipping through memories like torn pages of a book, searching for an answer. And then Elliot. My stomach clenched. A name I hadn't thought about in years. A boy with warm brown eyes and a smile that could melt away the coldest days. A boy I once whispered secrets to in the dark, whose lips I kissed under the flickering lights of a late-night party. A boy who I suddenly realized had meant everything to Emily. I stared at her, my lips parting, but no words came out. She saw the recognition flash in my eyes, and her smirk deepened. She murmured, swirling her wine. There it is. You finally remember. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Emily, that was years ago, she interrupted, her voice cool. Yes, I know. But pain doesn't fade with time, Anna. Betrayal doesn't simply disappear. She took a slow sip of her wine, her gaze never leaving mine. Tell me, did you ever feel guilty? Did you ever think about what you did? I exhaled shakily. I didn't know him. I didn't know how much he meant to you. Her laughter was soft, but there was no warmth in it. You didn't care enough to know, she corrected. You took him because you could. Because you always took what you wanted without thinking about who it hurt. She leaned in, lowering her voice. Well, how does it feel to be on the other side? A sharp pain twisted in my chest. I had spent years convincing myself that what happened with Elliot had been harmless. That I had simply fallen for a boy who happened to be hers first. But hearing the venom in her voice now, I realized I had never once asked her how she felt back then. I had never considered the damage I'd done. I placed my glass down carefully, my fingers numb. Emily, I whispered, my voice unsteady. Is this why you did it? Why you pushed Ethan toward me? She smiled. What do you think? My heart pounded. The realization was suffocating. This wasn't just about Ethan. This wasn't some unfortunate discovery of betrayal. She had orchestrated this. She had seen the way I looked at Ethan, the stolen glances, the lingering touches. And instead of stopping me, she had let me fall. No, she had pushed me. You wanted this, I breathed. Horror creeping into my voice. You wanted me to cheat. You wanted me to destroy myself. She tilted her head slightly, watching me like a predator sizing up its wounded prey. Oh, Anna, she murmured, almost pitying. I didn't just want you to cheat. I wanted you to lose. A shiver ran down my spine. I had walked straight into her trap. I gritted my teeth, my hands balling into fists on my lap. And Ethan? I asked, my voice colder now. Was he just a pawn too? She let out a quiet sigh. Ethan is exactly what you think he is, a selfish, weak man who thought with his dick. He was easy to manipulate. And he got exactly what he deserved. I shook my head. You used him. Just like you used me. She lifted a brow. Used you? She leaned back, crossing one leg over the other. Oh, Anna, I didn't use you. I just gave you the rope and let you hang yourself. Anger coiled tight in my chest. And what now? Asked, my voice sharp. You've won. You've humiliated me. You have the video. What do you want? Emily studied me for a long moment. Then slowly, she reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive, placing it on the table between us. I stared at it, my pulse pounding in my ears. That, she said, tapping her manicured nails against the wooden surface, contains every single moment you spent with Ethan. Every kiss. Every whisper. Every filthy little secret you told each other in bed. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. And of course our special little video. My breath hitched. You recorded everything? She shrugged. Not personally. But let's just say, when you were busy sneaking around behind my back, I was very busy too. A sickening realization washed over me. The hotel, I whispered. The cameras. Her lips curled. Bingo. My fingers trembled under the table. She had been planning this for months. Watching. Waiting. Letting me dig my own grave. And now she held the shovel. I forced myself to meet her gaze. What do you want? I asked again. Emily exhaled softly, tapping her fingers against her glass. Oh, Anna, she murmured. You keep asking the wrong questions. My stomach twisted. Then tell me the right one. She tilted her head, considering. Then she leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. How far are you willing to go to keep this a secret? Cold fear slithered down my spine. I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could, her phone buzzed on the table. She glanced at the screen, a small smirk playing on her lips. Then she stood, grabbing her purse. "Think about it," she said simply. "I'll be in touch." And with that, she walked away, leaving me alone with the tiny flash drive sitting between my shaking hands. My fingers hovered over the flash drive as if it were a live wire, pulsing with the weight of everything it contained. The world around me blurred, the sounds of the cafe fading into static. I could barely hear the murmured conversations, the clinking of glasses, the soft hum of the city outside. All I could focus on was the small, unassuming object in front of me, a ticking bomb in the palm of my hands. Emily had planned everything down to the last detail. She had played me, maneuvered me like a chess piece until I had no escape. And now she wanted something. She hadn't said it outright, but I knew she would. She wouldn't go through all of this just to walk away. I forced my hands to steady as I grabbed the flash drive and slipped it into my purse. My skin felt hot, my throat dry. I needed air. I needed space to think. But as I stood on shaky legs and left the cafe, I knew deep down, Emily already had me trapped. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my body still warm from the lingering touch of Ethan's hands. He was asleep beside me, his breathing deep and steady, completely unaware. The weight of guilt settled over me like a thick blanket. I had spent months indulging in stolen moments with him, convincing myself that it was passion, that it was love. But now, with Emily's truth slamming into me like a freight train, I saw it for what it really was, a carefully laid snare. I turned onto my side, watching Ethan's sleeping form. He looked peaceful, his jaw relaxed, his lips slightly parted. He had been so eager tonight, his touch almost desperate. Maybe he could sense my shift, the way I hesitated, the way my mind was somewhere else even when I was beneath him. I exhaled, barely a whisper in the dark. Does he know? The thought sent ice through my veins. Did he know she was watching? Did he know he was being played too? I clenched my fists, swallowing the bile rising in my throat. If Emily had been planning this for months, then how could I be sure Ethan wasn't in on it? Had he seduced me because he wanted me, or because he was following orders? A sharp buzz from my phone made my heart lurch. I scrambled to grab it before Ethan stirred, slipping out of bed and moving to the bathroom. My hands shook as I unlocked the screen. One new message. Emily, meet me. Now. You know where. My breath caught in my throat. She wasn't giving me time to think. I glanced back at Ethan, still deep in sleep, then at the clock on the bathroom wall.
2:34 nachts.
I should ignore her. I should pretend none of this was happening. But I knew better. Emily wasn't the type to wait. I dressed quickly, throwing on a coat and slipping out of the apartment without a sound. The air was cold against my skin as I hurried through the empty streets, my heartbeat loud in my ears. The city felt unnervingly quiet at this hour, as if even the world itself was holding its breath. When I reached the address, a sleek high-rise hotel, I felt my stomach twist. Of course she would choose this place, the scene of the crime. I stepped into the elevator, my pulse hammering as the doors slid shut. As I ascended, my reflection stared back at me in the mirrored walls, wide-eyed, tense, cornered. The doors opened to a dimly lit hallway. Suite 1407. I knew it before I even checked the number. The same room where Ethan and I had met in secret so many times. I knocked once. The door opened immediately. Emily stood before me, dressed in silk, her hair in effortless waves. She looked completely at ease, as if she hadn't just turned my world upside down. "Come in," she murmured. I stepped inside, and the door clicked shut behind me. The room was exactly as I remembered. Low lighting, crisp white sheets, the faint scent of expensive perfume lingering in the air. Emily poured herself a glass of wine, taking a slow sip as she watched me. "You came faster than I expected," she said. "Guess that means you're ready to talk." I crossed my arms. "What do you want, Emily?" She smiled. So direct. I like that. She set her glass down, stepping closer. "I told you. I want to see how far you're willing to go to keep this secret." My mouth went dry. "And what does that mean exactly?" She reached out, tracing a finger down my arm. "It means you owe me, Anna. I shivered at her touch, my body betraying me. For what? Her fingers tightened. For everything. For Elliot. For Ethan. For every moment I had to watch you take something that was mine. Her voice dipped lower, almost a whisper. And now I get to take something from you. A slow realization crept over me. She wasn't talking about money. She wasn't even talking about revenge anymore. She was talking about me. I stepped back. You're insane. Emily only laughed, stepping forward again, closing the space between us. Am I? She tilted her head. Or am I just finally taking what I deserve? I should have left. I should have turned around and walked out that door. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because deep down some sick part of me knew I had already lost. The morning light seeped through the curtains, casting a golden glow over the hotel room. My body felt heavy. My limbs tangled in silk sheets that weren't mine, in a bed that didn't belong to me. The scent of wine and perfume lingered in the air, mixed with something darker, something forbidden. My eyes fluttered open, and the first thing I saw was Emily, lying beside me, her bare skin exposed beneath the sheets, her lips curled into a satisfied smirk. Morning, she murmured, stretching languidly, as if she hadn't just turned my entire world upside down. My throat was dry. I sat up abruptly, the events of the night before crashing down on me with the weight of 1,000 regrets. My body still ached from her touch, from the way she had taken control, from the way I had let her. Shame and desire warred inside me, a battle I knew I had already lost. What did you do? My voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. Emily laughed softly, propping herself up on one elbow. Oh, Anna, you know exactly what I did. I ran a trembling hand through my hair, my pulse hammering in my ears. This wasn't part of your game. You wanted revenge, not? She cut me off with a slow, knowing smile. Why do you think revenge has to be cruel? Her fingers trailed over my arm, igniting a fire I hated myself for feeling. Sometimes revenge is about taking something for yourself, about watching someone else lose control. I yanked away from her touch, scrambling to gather my clothes. I have to go. Emily didn't stop me. She simply leaned back against the headboard, watching with an amused expression as I hastily dressed, my hands shaking. Go ahead, she said lazily. Run back to Ethan. Pretend last night never happened. I froze at his name, my stomach twisting. I had been so consumed by Emily's web that I had almost forgotten the life I was about to return to, the fiancé waiting for me, the lies piling up, the trap I had walked into willingly. What do you want from me, Emily? My voice was raw, desperate. She finally sat up, the smirk fading from her lips as she studied me with something almost unreadable. I already told you. I wanted you to feel what it's like to be played, to be trapped. And now that you do, I want to see what you'll do next. Her words sent a chill down my spine. Because she was right, I was trapped. It didn't matter if I walked out of this room now, if I tried to erase every touch, every whispered command, every moment of surrender. She had me, and she knew it. I turned and left without another word, my heart pounding as I stepped into the cold morning air. The streets were already alive with people going about their day, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. I walked aimlessly, my mind spiraling, trying to piece together what came next. When I finally returned to the apartment, Ethan was awake, sitting at the kitchen counter with a cup of coffee. His expression was unreadable as he looked up at me. Where were you? I hesitated for a fraction of a second, too long. His eyes narrowed slightly, his fingers tightening around the mug. I couldn't sleep, I lied. I went for a walk. His gaze lingered on me, as if searching for something. Did he already know? Had Emily told him? Anna, he said slowly, his voice dangerously quiet. Are you hiding something from me? My stomach twisted. The irony of the question nearly made me laugh. Hiding something? I had been hiding everything. And yet, standing here now, facing him, I realized that he wasn't just asking about last night. He was asking about all of it. About the months of secrets, the stolen glances, the whispered betrayals. And in that moment I knew I had to make a choice. I could keep pretending. I could act like nothing had changed, like Emily hadn't completely unraveled me, like my world wasn't about to collapse. I could stay in this life, keep lying, keep running from the truth. Or I could burn it all down. A slow, eerie calm settled over me as I met Ethan's gaze. Actually, I said, my voice steady for the first time in weeks. I think we need to talk. His eyes darkened. About what? I exhaled. Everything. For the first time, I saw a flicker of uncertainty in him. Because he wasn't expecting that answer. He wasn't expecting me to take control. And as I spoke the words that would shatter everything we had built, I realized something. Emily had won. But maybe, just maybe I had too.